ever get the feeling that some things, like, they were just meant to be? You know, like, despite all odds, they kind of explode onto the scene.
Yeah, yeah.
And change everything.
Totally.
Well, that's what we're diving into today, that the wild birth of Saturday Night Live.
Oh, nice.
Through this new film, Saturday Night.
Okay.
Now, this isn't some stuffy biopic laying out the whole SNL timeline, right?
Right.
Think of it more as a love letter to those early days, you know?
Yeah.
Those first jitters.
Yeah.
That anything could happen energy of that premiere episode back in '75.
What's fascinating to me is that it really zeroes in on that make or break moment. It's less about, meticulously documenting every little detail of SNL history.
Yeah.
And more about capturing those raw nerves.
Yeah.
The creative clashes. The sheer audacity of trying to pull off a live comedy show.
Oh, yeah.
In a time when, variety shows were very, very different.
Oh, you can practically smell the coffee and cigarette smoke.
Right.
Just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And the film really leans into that behind-the-scenes frenzy. You've got Lorne Michaels, played by Gabriel LaBelle. He's like this conductor right on the edge of a musical meltdown.
Which, come on, that's great cinema.
Oh, yeah.
You've got network execs breathing down their necks.
Yeah.
You've got these comedic geniuses like Belushi, Aykroyd.
Oh, yeah.
Bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, yeah.
And this very real possibility that the whole thing could implode before the first commercial.
Oh, totally.
Talk about pressure.
And speaking of Belushi and Aykroyd, can we talk about this cast for a second?
Yeah, please.
Dylan O'Brien as Aykroyd. I mean, he becomes Aykroyd. That staccato delivery.
Yeah.
The twinkle in his eye.
Yes.
And Matt Wood as Belushi.
Oh, man.
Pure chaotic energy.
Yes.
Bottled on screen.
It's uncanny how good he is.
It's uncanny. And then wait for it, Nicholas Braun pulls double duty.
What? No way.
As Andy Kaufman and Jim Henson.
Now, that's inspired casting.
Right.
But don't overlook J.K. Simmons as Milton Berle.
Oh, yeah.
Having him there, representing this older generation of comedy, that's what creates this really interesting tension, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like old guard versus new wave.
Yeah.
And Berle, he becomes this embodiment of what SNL was trying to, disrupt.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
You can feel that clash of styles, that sense that they're on the verge of something.
Totally.
Groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Something dangerous, even.
Yeah.
But before we get into all that, I want to hear more about this feeling that the film is polished.
Okay.
What did you mean by that? What's missing?
Like, they captured the energy, of that time period.
Yeah.
That anything goes spirit.
Yeah.
But maybe they cleaned it up a little too much.
Okay.
For a modern audience.
Yeah.
Like early SNL, it pushed boundaries.
Right.
Sometimes it stumbled.
Right.
But it always felt dangerous.
Right.
In a way that this film doesn't quite capture.
So it's like a greatest hits album.
Yes.
But you're missing that that raw, unmastered track.
Exactly.
That the true fans crave.
Exactly. And that's where, the criticism about the portrayal of the female cast members, it becomes really important.
Okay.
Because we're talking about icons.
Right.
Gilda Radner, Jane Curtin, Lorraine Newman.
Oh, yeah.
These women weren't just funny.
Right.
They were forces of nature.
Yeah.
Who redefined what women in comedy could do.
And the film doesn't quite capture that.
It's a mixed bag. The actresses, they do a fantastic job with the material they're given.
Yeah.
Ella Hunt, as Gilda Radner particularly, I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
Capturing that blend of vulnerability and comedic brilliance. But the film doesn't give them the same kind of depth, the same complexity as some of their male counterparts.
That's a shame, especially given how much emphasis has been placed on really highlighting the contributions of women in comedy lately.
Oh, absolutely.
It seems like a missed opportunity to really delve into their experiences, their struggles, their triumphs in that era.
And it ties into this whole idea of it feeling polished, right?
Yeah.
By smoothing over the rough edges, by not exploring, the challenges that they faced.
Right.
It loses a little bit of its authenticity.
Right. Yeah.
It becomes this celebration of innovation, but shies away from the grittier realities of what it took to break new ground in a male-dominated industry,
It makes you think about how we tell these kinds of stories.
Yes.
How we frame history,
It is so easy to celebrate the successes, but it is harder to grapple with the with the complexities, right?
Right.
The part that don't fit so neatly into a feel-good narrative.
Right, right.
And that's why this criticism is so crucial.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about screen time.
Right.
It's about acknowledging the full scope of SNL's impact. And to truly understand its legacy, we have to acknowledge everyone who contributed.
Right.
Not just the most celebrated figures.
It's a good reminder that, like, history is rarely black and white. Even when celebrating something as, as joyous and influential as SNL,
Right.
It's important to acknowledge the nuances.
Totally.
The different perspectives, the ways in which, we might still be grappling with the same issues today.
Right, 100%.
But let's shift gears a bit and talk about what the film does well.
Okay, go.
One thing that really stood out to me was the music.
Yes.
John Batiste's score.
It's amazing.
It's fantastic.
Isn't it? It's like he bottled the energy of that first show.
Yes.
You've got the jazz, the funk, that undercurrent of like nervous energy.
Yeah.
It all builds to that live from New York moment.
Yes.
And you get swept up in it.
Exactly. It's not just background music. It's like another character in the film.
Yes.
Driving the narrative, amplifying the emotions.
Totally.
You can practically hear the heartbeat of that night through this music. It really does. Like, he found a way to bottle that lightning in a bottle feeling, you know, that sense of being on the edge of something totally new, something huge.
Yeah.
But knowing what we know now about SNL and how big it became,
Right.
it's hard to separate that feeling from, like, already knowing it's a success,
Right.
So do you think the film manages to capture that will they or won't they make it tension?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, it does a phenomenal job at recreating that chaotic energy, those moments of doubt, inspiration. You really get a sense of what a gamble this whole thing was.
Yeah.
But at the same time, knowing that SNL became this cultural phenomenon, it's kind of hard to fully buy into those stakes,
Yeah.
There's a part of us that already knows how it ends.
It's like watching like a sports movie.
Yeah.
Where you already know who wins.
Right.
But you still get swept up in the thrill of the game.
Exactly. And I think that kind of speaks to the power of SNL itself.
Yeah.
It's so deeply ingrained in our culture.
Yeah.
That even just this like fictionalized version of its beginnings, it taps into something familiar,
Right.
something nostalgic.
Okay. So where does that leave us? Was Saturday Night a successful film?
I think it depends what you're looking for. If you're going in hoping for, a completely objective history lesson, you might be disappointed.
Yeah.
But if you approach it as like a love letter to those early days, the celebration of that talent, that audacity it took to create something so unique, then yeah, I think it definitely succeeds.
It's a good reminder that sometimes the most captivating stories are the ones that capture a feeling.
Yes.
An energy, more than just the facts.
Absolutely.
It's about capturing the spirit of something. And in that sense, Saturday Night delivers.
Yeah, it does.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into Saturday Night and the wild birth of SNL.
A wild ride for sure.
It really was. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and we'll catch you on the flip side.